Today, I've got 3 stocks that are going to benefit from the seismic shift that we heard on Nvidia's conference call, where they talked about the decline in attachment rate and sales of their networking product. There are 3 companies trading in the stock market today that are going to benefit on this news. What did Nvidia announce on their conference call that was so shocking? We'll talk about that. Which 3 companies stand to benefit? We'll talk about each one of them. We'll show it also technical charts as well, and we'll get you all set in this shifting trend in the networking market. What is going on, investors? Hopefully, guys are doing well out there. We obviously heard from Nvidia yesterday, and look, their sales and their revenue growth, certainly their Q4 outlook, it was all good enough. Shares of Nvidia are going to be doing just fine, but it's more than just a GPU and data center company. In fact, they have a networking product. Now, if you're not exactly sure how these things work, we don't need a computer science degree, but obviously inside of a data center, you have all different types of servers, and the way you get these things to perform is you network them all together. Now, naturally, Nvidia has their own networking product that they call InfiniBand. And as sales of Nvidia's GPUs started to skyrocket in 2023 and 2024, they required a lot of vendors to not only buy the GPU, but also the InfiniBand networking product and not go to other vendors, which we'll talk about here shortly on today's show. What we are seeing, though, is that vendors are starting to balk at using Nvidia's proprietary product. In fact, the attach rate is referring to the number of systems that include a purchase of Nvidia's InfiniBand technology. This higher attachment rate indicates greater adoption of Nvidia's InfiniBand products, and this lower attachment rate, in fact, we saw a quarter-over-quarter decline in revenues for networking over at Nvidia. Basically shows you that the network just simply doesn't want to use this product like they used to. Now, Dylan Patel presented this lovely graph on Twitter, otherwise known as X, and showing that the Nvidia attach rate on networking has gone from 35% down to 15. Dylan is a great guy. I happened to meet him at a conference maybe a year or so ago. He is the author of Semi-Analysis. He doesn't pay me to say any of this, although if he wanted to throw me a year-long subscription to Semi-Analysis, I would take it, considering this cost about $500. This is what the industry reads to learn more about the semiconductor industry. In fact, a lot of the news and information that I get from a technical perspective on the semiconductor industry comes from Semi-Analysis. So his voice and his data is very, very good. And the fact that networking attachment rates have gone from 35% down below 15%, and in fact, quarter over quarter, Nvidia saw a decline in networking sales, has me to believe that there are companies that are standing to benefit not just in the current quarter, but probably as we move into next year. Now, for Nvidia's part, the CFO did get on the conference call and tried to explain this away. In fact, she said our ability to sell our networking with many of our systems that we are doing in data center is continuing to grow and do quite well. So this quarter is just a slight dip down, and we're going to be right back on track in terms of growing. Now, they did note that the fourth quarter, the upcoming quarter, they should see a quarter over quarter improvement, but she's saying that this quarter is just a slight dip. But I think if we take the data that Dylan is providing, this is more than just a slight dip. In fact, this is more than a 50% decline in attachment rate. And by all means, it makes sense. If you dig into a lot of what the industry experts are saying, is they're saying that there is an alternative to InfiniBand. It obviously is Ethernet. That is the primary alternative to using Nvidia's proprietary product. Now, that will continue to gain market share as sales of Nvidia's GPUs continue to fly off the shelves, because make no mistake, Nvidia's GPU is still going to fly off the shelves. They're still seeing demand that is off the charts. In fact, they have demand that outstrips the ability of Taiwan Semiconductor to make these GPUs. So there is no concern about Nvidia's main product continuing to sell well. What we were talking about is the networking that is paired with it and basically makes the entire system run. Other industry leaders are seeing the same thing. In fact, xAI, which is Elon Musk's startup, they are not using InfiniBand on their latest build out. Now, there are several companies that are positioned to not only continue to see strong sales on the back of this trend that we're seeing over at Nvidia in terms of lower attachment rates, but they are likely going to see demand that remains likely for years because, again, Nvidia's main product continues to sell well. It's really the networking product. And the absolute king of all networking is Broadcom, ticker symbol AVG. Over the past year, shares of Broadcom up about 68% year to date, up about 48%. You've got a price to earnings multiple on this one in the low 30s. And if you believe Hock Tan, which is the CEO of this company, he tends to sandbag guidance. He's a Wall Street guy, and so he knows how the game is played. The company is expected to grow 51% in their upcoming quarter, which they'll report in December, but that is lapping a quarter where they did not have VMware on the books of the company. As you move into next year, you're expecting kind of high teens, maybe 20% growth rate. These are more than achievable targets. The company continues to buy back stock. You also get a dividend on this one as well. From a technical perspective, you have been on an absolute breakneck pace on this one, but it's in a beautiful upward channel, trending back all the way back to 2009 before many of you even picked up interest in the stock market. Now, this purple trend line has been holding since 2022. In fact, shares of Broadcom are sitting right on it. Now, complicating the situation again as they report their earnings just a couple of weeks from now, on Thursday, December 12th. Broadcom, though, is the absolute market leader. You'll have some people talk about Marvell, maybe some other companies. I like to stick to the market leader. There's going to be a lot of overlap. So if you own Broadcom, you own Marvell. These two companies are going to be taking business away from each other. So I'd rather have the market leader rather than the secondary player. Now, another company, it does compete directly with Broadcom, but I'm seeing tons of positive notes on Arista Network, ticker symbol ANET. Now, over the past year, shares have done great, up 87% year to date, up 71%. You got a big multiple on this one, but you do have some growth. Going forward, the company has expected high teens, maybe 20% growth. These are more than achievable targets. I've seen wins over at Amazon and over at Meta from this company. And obviously, Meta and Amazon are going to spend even more money than they did over the past year on the data center. That is likely going to mean Arista Network should do quite well. Now, technically, it is in a beautiful upward channel. If you know how I set up my channel lines, I tend to have a bottom channel line. I don't tend to want to wait until we hit the bottom of the channel because on this one, we haven't hit the channel bottom since October of 2023. So I tend to divide these in half and put kind of a light green line here. This is where you can do some active buying, and that's basically where shares are today on that stock. And now the final stock is kind of a nuts and bolt company. Okay, their margins and their gross margins and their net margins, their operating profit is lower than what you see across the rest of the semiconductor industry, but the rest of these companies basically rely on Celestica, ticker symbol CLS. I've been in this stock for a while. I've been in Broadcom for a while. I'll probably buy ANET here very shortly. Now, over the past year, shares of this company up big time, up 230% year to date, up over 200%. But I remember looking at this one originally and it had kind of a teens valuation. We're currently trading at about 22 times on this one. You still got relatively solid growth rate, 9-10% growth rate. And I know this doesn't look like Nvidia. This doesn't look like some of these high flying stocks. But my point is, based on the trends that we're seeing, I don't expect this to reverse. I don't think the CFO of Nvidia is being 100% honest here. Yes, they have a slight dip. That's what she says. But when you look at the data, it's more than a slight dip. This is an undeniable trend at this point. That means these companies that have been benefiting over the past year will benefit in the upcoming year. And I think we've got a story where Nvidia's main GPUs will continue to sell into 2026, probably even 2027. I don't think we have any slowdown in this build out. I do believe, Jensen Huang, that you've got $1 trillion of spend that is going to come from the Oracles, Amazons, Microsofts, Metas, Googles across the world in terms of data center spend that is going to benefit all of these companies, including Broadcom, ANET, and CLS. These companies will continue to benefit. Now, this stock has gone absolutely parabolic. It's hard to draw technical lines on here that make a lot of sense, but just keep in mind the valuation is not ridiculous. And the growth rate, I think, is going to extend out several years on that one. Folks, we have 3 stocks that are going to benefit from the shift of customers using InfiniBand and feeling like they have to in order to get allocation from Nvidia. They are going to switch back to the tried and true Ethernet offering, which is more stable, more versatile, and in a lot of cases, better for the applications that many of these companies are running. This trend is not going to reverse. These networking companies are going to benefit not just in 2025, but through 2026 as well, as this market continues to expand, as Nvidia sales continue to do as well. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video. We'll be back again this weekend with the Semiconductor Show. Good luck with your investments.